The Sniper Elite games are fairly often requested to this channel. However, I never really wanted to cover them. I'm really not a fan of stealth games, and sniping, while I don't hate it, generally bores me. With that said, VR has this magical ability to turn the most mundane interactions in video games and instead make them interactive and engaging. Want to reload that gun in a regular shooter? Press the R key and the gun reloads. Want to reload in VR? Well, you manually have to reload. Want to snipe in a regular game? Well, hold down right click and you got a point and click adventure game. Want to snipe in a VR game? Well, you actually have to look through the scope. Hey everybody, as always, Jarek here. Naturally, I thought that Sniper Elite VR would be the best place to look into this franchise. It's something a little more than a point and click adventure game. A lot more, given that it's VR. However, I wouldn't necessarily say this is the best introduction to this franchise. Also, yes, I just streamed VR for like 5 hours. You're gonna have these lines on your head when you get done playing VR for such a long time, or even just an hour. They'll go away within time. Anyway, before I really get into this game, I need to thank today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Ekster. Ekster makes small wallets, meaning they won't print as much, making it a lot harder for someone to pickpocket you. Accessing your cards is super quick. You just push this little tab on the bottom and it pops up your cards. It also tickles that part of my brain that has fun messing with a fidget spinner. The two products you're looking at are a card holder and an old-fashioned looking wallet which still has the ease of access card tab. But let's say you don't want to upgrade to these wallets. Let's say you have, I don't know, some sentimental value in your wallet. You've had it since middle school and you want to keep it. Well, they make something else that I actually already have in my wallet and I'm using. That is a tracker. Oh, hold up. It's stuck in my vaccination card. Here you go. This is a tracker. You simply download the Chipolo map to your phone, press the button on the tracker once to sync it to your phone, and then you can track it worldwide. I'm zoomed way out here because I don't want you to know my address, but do note that you can zoom way in and see exactly where you left your wallet. And if it's nearby but you still can't find it, you can press one button and ring it. Or what if the other way happens? What if you lose your phone? Well, double tap on this, and you can find your phone. To make things even better, this tracker is super slim and also solar powered. Just 2 hours of sunlight will last for 3 months. So hey, if any of this sounds good to you, check that link down below in the video information, and a big thanks goes to Ekster for sponsoring this video. Alright, Sniper Elite VR. Before I start, there's some really important information about the scope that you should know. The in-game display on my desktop, which is what you guys will be seeing, doesn't have the ability to look out of my right eye. I'm right eye dominant and right-handed, so if I'm looking through the scope, I want to use my right eye. The solution would be to use the Steam VR mode. However, I'm having an odd issue here. If I select the view out of the right eye, it still views out of the left eye. If I select the view out of the left eye, it does this. Why? I have looked everywhere and I cannot find a solution to this. If you know, please tell me. Your next question is, how am I seeing through the scope then? And the answer is, I'm just forcing myself to use my left eye. It doesn't feel natural. I'm having to refine targets when I look through the scope. I really would prefer to use my right eye, but for you guys, just so you can actually see through the scope, I am using my left eye while being right-handed. If occasionally I'm not looking through the scope, I just kind of forgot and used my right eye. So keep that in your mind. All right, rants over. Let's actually get into the review. Usually I would start with the story, but I don't have much to say here because it might as well be non-existent. The entirety of the story is presented to you by some narration from some old guy telling old stories. His voice majorly clashes what's going on, and I find it interrupts the combat all the time. He literally is the only voice actor in the game. You never really get cutscenes. When you do, they're this.
No, I might have got 10 because of the... No, I didn't. Okay, well... What the?
No pain yet, but confusion and horror smothered me. Matteo, this can't be. Traitor. The word echoed in my dying mind, and I understood the depth of wound my friend had caused. Pazzano, the attack, our comrades and loved ones, all him.
Okay.
Oftentimes he'll do this narration where he's telling you how he was feeling and that things are so tense. Don't tell me things are tense or tell me the emotions I'm supposed to be feeling. Make me feel those emotions. This is the most immersive environment you can get. It's virtual reality.
The Germans surged towards the church in taking their revenge for their fallen leader. I had no choice but to stand and fight.
To make that even worse, the HUD is rather intrusive. There is always something showing up telling you where to go. There's things glowing on your guns. It always takes me out of the game. You cannot get immersed in this game.
I can't see because of the fucking stupid cover blown thing blocking my vision.
Anyway, the story sucks. It really doesn't go anywhere and is just an excuse to shoot more Nazis, which is fine, but I almost wish they didn't even try and just gave us missions to play. Next up are the graphics, which are really not very good, but also this is a multi-platform game. It's on PlayStation VR, it's on Oculus Quest 2, and it's on traditional PC VR. Naturally, PC VR is going to look the best, but still, if it's multi-platform, it's going to have to be scaled down. It's naturally never going to look as good as, say, Half-Life Alyx or Boneworks or something else. It doesn't look terrible for a VR game. Keep in mind, VR games generally don't look quite as good as normal games because there's a lot more required for your rig to do in order to play these games. Like, I don't know how Valve got Half-Life Alyx to look as good as it does without your computer exploding. So the graphics are passable but unremarkable. A lot of the times I would notice things off in the distance that just looked really bad, but this is not game-breaking and I kind of don't really care, gonna be honest. What really matters is the gameplay, and unfortunately it's rather mediocre. I feel there are two very distinct eras when it comes to VR. Before Boneworks and Half-Life Alyx, and after Boneworks and Half-Life Alyx, and if you make a game like this after Boneworks and Half-Life Alyx came out, you're like 3 years too late. See, Half-Life Alyx gave us immersive storytelling. It gave us an immersive world with great graphics and so many things to interact with. You could pick up anything around you. The combat was a little lackluster, but it was supposed to be people's first VR game. That's what they wanted. Boneworks picks up the slack for Half-Life Alyx's lack of combat being that in-depth. In Boneworks, you can climb anything you want to. You have two-handed weapons. The combat is the best VR experience I have ever had. It is still easily my favorite VR game. Yeah, Sniper Elite VR doesn't do any of these things. In Sniper Elite VR, you can't even put on a helmet or a hat. They're glowing, you can pick them up, but you can't put them on. The level of interactivity is so low. You can't interact with anything in the world. There's just no physics props anywhere. The only things you can pick up are collectibles, guns, grenades, and explosives. Well, and I guess different sizes of wine bottles, but that's not very much. And as we discussed, it definitely doesn't have the storytelling or graphics of Half-Life Alyx. It also doesn't have the gunplay of other top-tier VR games. The guns don't feel as intuitive, natural, or fun as H3 VR. Which is probably an unfair comparison. That is the best VR guns you're gonna get. To step it down a notch, they don't feel as good as Boneworks or even Zero Caliber. And again, the guns in this game do this obnoxious highlighting parts of the weapons at all times. Why? Why do games keep doing this? You can't just grab anywhere on the mag to reload, you have to grab a very specific point. The same thing applies to the grenade, and it's always way too picky. And then when you look at your gun, it highlights how many bullets are left inside of it. All of these things totally break immersion, but also don't feel natural or smooth. It really doesn't feel like I'm interacting with these guns. It doesn't feel like I'm physically putting a mag into another solid object. Mostly because I'm not. I just wave my hands around it and things pop into place. To be fair, Alyx did kind of the same thing, but at least they had proper animations to show the reloading and it felt more intuitive and natural. But as we already discussed, the guns aren't really the highlight or focus to Alyx. Hell, the combat as a whole isn't. If you compare reloading in this game to something like Boneworks, it immediately stands out why it feels so weird. You don't even have to be playing. You can see the difference. When you're in the middle of battle, trying to hover your hand right around where exactly you need to grab is the worst. Medal of Honor VR did the same damn thing. But even with all of that said, this game isn't entirely awful. For starters, thankfully, it's not $60, it's only $30. Personally, I think it should have been $20, but still, it's a half-priced game. Secondly, the gunplay is at least serviceable enough. It's not bad, it's just mediocre. This game is not a complete flop like Medal of Honor Below and Behind was.
Pretend to hurt yourself by smashing your hand on these rusty nails.
What? Okay. But it definitely can be very hit or miss. For example, the VR controls sometimes just don't want to work. It has the common VR problem where the holstering system is just kind of a pain. You go to holster things and oftentimes you just drop them behind your back. A much bigger problem is that the holster will just kind of shift and turn 180 when you look down and then you try to grab something but it's not where it's supposed to be. I don't know why it does this. This is a huge issue. It needs to be fixed. It also happens while you're crouching. Like, this really is the worst. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not the worst. What actually is the worst is when you go out of bounds. If you stick your head through a wall or you walk too far out of the play area, the game turns entirely black, tells you you're out of bounds, and you can't do anything. This is incredibly annoying when you're trying to take cover. You want to lean more behind a wall, and instead you slightly poke yourself through that wall, and the game just says out of bounds and sticks you in the open so you can die. At least just do what Half-Life Alyx does and make the whole thing orange or something. Like, this is a big enough flaw to where it needs to be patched out entirely. The game also has a nasty habit of getting you stuck on walls, which got me killed a few times, and it doesn't feel good. And then we get to the missions, which again are just so hit or miss. Yeah, this game is a mission structure, and it's very arcadey. In between each mission, you get to choose your loadout, which is nice, actually. I do like the ability to choose any of the guns I want, and there are some interesting guns here. This game takes place in Italy during World War II, and Italy had some interesting weapons at that time. Like this SMG. Awesome. Like, I love unique guns. I don't want to play with the same ones I've used a million times. So I love the ability to choose whatever guns I want when I'm going into any mission. It adds replay value. The problem is some of these missions really suck. For example, this one. You spawn, you kill enemies in front of you, and then you stand up here on this ridge and shoot enemies as they run at this plane wreckage, and then you've defended long enough to make the mission end. That's the whole mission.
Was that that's his body? Oh no. What? Okay, you can't fail me for that. I was busy looking at how bad the game failed.
And then there are some other missions that just spawn you in a tower. You can't really go anywhere or do anything. There's not really any in-depth way to defend this tower. It's just snipe enemies in this tower for 5 to 10 minutes and then the mission ends. Like, why? Why couldn't you do something more than that? It's extra confusing because later on in the game, they do something more than that. It's like a horde defense mission where you have to defend this house, but you can go through numerous different floors, you can set up mines. There's a lot of different ways to defend it. This is way more fun than sitting in a tower for 5 to 10 minutes. However, most of the missions are way better than that, and they're a lot more straightforward. It's usually just spawn, you have one objective, which is just blow up AAs or something, and it takes you through this mission, killing enemies as you go, and that's really it. These missions are the best missions because the game gets out of your way and lets you play. As for actually shooting the enemies, it takes the same sort of format as Sniper Elite. Doesn't really change anything majorly aside from the fact that it's in VR now and not as good. They have the same sort of stealth system where a lot of times you're just kind of standing there waiting for some loud noise to cover your sniper shot. I don't have time for this. I'm just gonna shoot everything. Like, I don't even enjoy good stealth. What makes you think I'll enjoy that? Thankfully, you get plenty of weapons to choose from, so if you don't want to take the stealthy approach and just play very slowly and patiently wait for loud noises, you can just kind of shoot them. This is more fun, in my opinion, but you can play it any way you want to, so that's what they're going for. Just note that you die really fast in this game. Enemies just, oh my lord, they murder you. This is the game's attempt to encourage you to use stealth, but it's definitely playable with or without it. And then of course, as you've probably seen many times in this video, it has the classic kill cams that we've seen in other Sniper Elite games, and these are really satisfying. I am not going to lie. Don't worry though, if these make you sick, you can turn them off, or maybe if you just get bored of seeing them every 5 seconds, then, you know, you can turn them off. I never got bored of them. I thought they were awesome. I left them on. Although I do have a complaint about them. It will always do the whole black screen circling around you as an attempt to reduce motion sickness. I played VR for a lot of hours. I don't need this, but there's no way to turn it off, and it's really annoying. It's actually more disorienting having it rather than not having it. The game also does this for explosions, which is even more frustrating. Please allow us to turn these off in a future patch. Anyway, as I was saying, these missions that allow you to just sort of spawn and then walk through killing different squads of enemies, stealth or not stealth, are the best missions, and they are most of them. They can be quite enjoyable as a good time waster, but they obviously don't reach the height of Boneworks or Half-Life Alyx. Completing these missions don't transition to the next mission seamlessly. It pops up a screen giving you a score and all of that. Like I said, this is a very arcadey game. They even give you these 3 stars. These are 3 objectives per mission. This is important because if you don't get 3 stars in every mission, you can't play the last few levels. Why? Arbitrarily locking you out of the end game is stop! Like, seriously, this should never be a thing. And that should sum up Sniper Elite VR. It is a rather mediocre game. If I had to put some VR games in tiers, I would say there's this tier at the very top with Boneworks and Half-Life Alyx, and then you have a tier below that with really fun games, but just not great games. Games that don't need the AAA experience, to still be great. Those up there would be things like, say, Zero Caliber, Pavlov's, H3VR. You can argue H3VR being up with Half-Life Alyx and Boneworks if you really, really like guns, but I want something a little bit more than that. I would say this game is in a tier just below Zero Caliber. It's mediocre, but it's not 100% bad, but it's not good. It's just a good time waster for $30 and that's it. I've been seeing a lot of reviews give it a 6 out of 10 and that's pretty accurate, I would say. I've also been seeing a lot of PlayStation VR reviews giving it like an 8 out of 10 and the only explanation I can come to for that is that they just don't have any truly great games over there. Like they don't have a Half-Life Alyx or a Boneworks on that platform. That should sum everything up. I want to give a big thanks to everyone that joined me over on Twitch. My Twitch is twitch.tv/JarekTheGamingDragon. If you subscribe, you get to see my videos ahead of time. Also, a big thanks goes to Ekster for sponsoring this video. Check that link down below in the video information. And of course, a huge thanks goes to you, yes you, for watching this video. I post a new video every Friday. I'll see you then.